Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, stop everything you are doing right now. Stop. Put down your coffee, pause the podcast, tell your boss you have a family emergency, which honestly, considering how much time we spend talking about the Ashford Robinson clan, this basically is a family emergency. I need you to focus because I just saw the promo for General Hospital for the week of February 9th and I am literally shaking. Physically. Shaking. I can't even breathe. I'm hyperventilating. Is there a paper bag nearby? No. Okay, whatever. I'll just suffer. So you know how we've been waiting for weeks? Actually, it feels like years, honestly. My life has aged 10 years in the last month. Just watching this show to find out about Portia's paternity test results. Well, the promo is here. And it is messy. Capital M-A, capital A, capital S-A, S-A, yay. I'm screaming. Okay, let me back up because my brain is going a mile a minute and I know I sound like a crazy person, but you have to understand the stakes here. The stakes. So Portia Robinson, Dr. Portia Robinson, the woman who apparently cannot tell the truth to save her life. Literally, she's a doctor, she saves lives. But her own life is just a web of lies. Has finally taken the paternity test for her unborn baby. And we are all sitting here like clowns, waiting to see if the baby daddy is her estranged husband, Curtis Ashford, or her affair partner, Dr. Isaiah Gannon. And don't even get me started on Isaiah. Look, he's gorgeous. He's charming. He's a surgeon. He's basically perfect on paper, right? But the mess? The absolute chaos this man has caused just by existing in Port Charles. I mean, I know it takes two to tango and Portia is fully responsible for her own choices. But Isaiah, looking all smiley and hopeful in this promo, is sending me over the edge. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me set the scene. I was literally sitting on my couch, eating leftover Thai food pad. See, ew, if you care, which you probably don't. But it was delicious until I choked on a noodle because of this promo, and suddenly there she is, Portia, in the hospital. First of all, can we talk about the fact that she is wearing her lab coat, like full-on doctor gear? Hello, are we forgetting she is on probation? The woman was practically stripped of her co-chief of staff title because of the whole sleeping with a subordinate thing. And yet there she is, walking around GH like she owns the place. I mean, I guess they haven't locked her out of the computer system yet, which is wild to me. If I got put on probation at work, my badge would be deactivated before I could even say HIPAA violation. But this is Port Charles, where hospital security is basically a suggestion. Anyway, she's holding this manila envelope. And you know, in soaps, a manila envelope is never just an envelope. It's a bomb. It is a literal weapon of mass destruction made of paper. The look on her face, you guys. It's this mix of nausea, guilt, and terror. She looks like she's about to throw up right there in the hallway. And honestly, same. Because we all know what's in that envelope. The DNA results. The answer to the question that is going to ruin someone's life. And here is where my brain literally exploded. The promo cuts to Curtis. Poor long-suffering Curtis Ashford. Remember when he found out Trina was his daughter like 20 years too late? Yeah, well, he looks upset. And not just someone ate my yogurt from the staff fridge upset. He looks, my soul is crushed and I might flip a table upset. Then, and this is the part that made me scream out loud, it cuts to Isaiah, and he is grinning, ear to ear, like he just won the lottery, like he just found out he's winning a Nobel Prize. So do the math with me. Curtis equals upset. Isaiah equals happy. Does that mean the baby is Isaiah's? No. No. You and I both know it is never that simple. Here's my theory, and I need you to tell me if I'm crazy or if I'm a genius. I think she fakes it. I think Portia Robinson, the woman who lied about Trina's paternity for decades, is going to open that envelope, see that it's Curtis's baby, and then lie and say it's Isaiah's. Why? Because she's terrified. Think about it. Trina hates her right now. Like full on I have no mother vibes. Trina has cut her off completely. It's devastating, honestly. I was watching a scene with them the other day and I actually teared up because Trina looks so cold and Portia looks so desperate. Portia wants to fix that relationship more than anything. If she has another baby with Curtis, that ties her to Curtis forever in a way that is going to be so messy and complicated. And Curtis is going to be all up in her business. And Trina is going to be forced to deal with this whole happy family dynamic that isn't happy at all. But if it's Isaiah's, then she can just go be with Isaiah and she can keep Curtis at arm's length. She probably thinks in her twisted logic, oh, this will be better for everyone. I'll just raise the baby with Isaiah. Curtis can move on, and maybe Trina will forgive me eventually if there's less drama. Portia, girl, have you learned nothing? Lying about paternity is literally what got you into this mess with Trina in the first place. Remember the genealogy test, the school project. Remember how Stella had to take a DNA test and that's how the whole secret came out. You can't hide biology in Port Charles. There is literally a lab on every corner, and everyone is related to everyone. Speaking of labs, B.R.A.D. Cooper. Oh my god, I forgot to mention Brad. Okay, so while all this baby drama is happening, Brad Cooper is back. Brad Cooper, the king of bad choices. The man who stole a baby and passed it off as his own for like 2 years. And where is he working? In the GH lab. Again. How does this man still have a license? How does he still have a job? If I was a hospital administrator, I would see Brad Cooper on a resume and immediately call the police. But no, he's back mixing test tubes and looking shady. And remember, Brad blackmailed Portia before he knows her secrets. He knows about the time she tampered with Heather Weber's cobalt tests. Portia does not need Brad Cooper hovering around while she's trying to potentially falsify a paternity test. That's why I think she runs the test herself. The spoilers were saying she doesn't want to deal with Brad's blackmail again, so she probably snuck into the lab late at night, typed furiously on the computer, and printed the results herself. But back to the promo. So we see Portia with the envelope. We see Curtis looking mad. We see Isaiah looking happy. And then there's Trina. My heart breaks for Trina. Seriously. She's been through so much. The trial, the Esme stuff, Spencer, and now her mom is having a midlife crisis that resulted in a pregnancy triangle. In the spoilers it says Trina asked Curtis about the results. Can you imagine that conversation? Hey dad, did mom tell you if the baby is yours or the guy she cheated on you with? Awkward. And Curtis is clearly not pleased in that scene. So does he know the truth? Or does he think he knows the truth because Portia lied to him? If Portia lies and tells everyone it's Isaiah's baby when it's really Curtis's, I am going to lose it. I will literally throw my remote at the TV. Because Curtis deserves to know. He already missed out on Trina's entire childhood. To do that to him again, that is villain behavior. That is not conflicted doctor behavior, that is Disney villain behavior. And you know, Isaiah is just caught in the crossfire. He wants a family so bad. He's looking at Portia with those puppy dog eyes, probably thinking, yay, we're gonna have a baby and everything is gonna be great. Meanwhile, Portia is sweating bullets because she knows she's building a house of cards on a foundation of quicksand during an earthquake. Wait, I just got distracted. Did you see the thing about Maurice Bernard hosting Josh Swickard's grandfather on his podcast? I saw a headline about it and thought it was so cute. He's a World War II veteran, 102 years old. But I can't even focus on wholesome content right now because I am too stressed about Portia's uterus. I need to stay focused on the toxicity. Okay, where was I? Right, the envelope. The body language in the video is everything. Portia looks guilty. If the baby was Isaiah's and she was happy about it, she wouldn't look like she was walking to the gallows. She would look relieved. But she looks terrified. That tells me the results are either 1, it's Curtis's, and she's trying to figure out how to lie about it. Or it's Isaiah's, but she realizes that having a baby with him blows up her life even more. But my money is on option 1. It's always the most dramatic option. It's Curtis's baby. It has to be. The soap gods love to torture Curtis. And can we talk about the lab coat again? I just can't get over it. She's walking around looking all professional, stethoscope around her neck. Meanwhile, her personal life is a dumpster fire. It's such a mood. Yes, I can perform complex surgery, but I cannot figure out who fathered my child without committing fraud. Iconic. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, the computer systems. The spoiler said no one locked her out of the computer systems. That is a recipe for disaster. That is literally the writers handing her a loaded gun. Here, Portia have full access to the patient database, where you can change names and blood types with a single click. Why would they do that? It's like they want her to commit a crime. I'm calling it now. She changes the results. She tells Isaiah he's the father. He gets all happy and starts buying cribs and onesies. Curtis gets depressed and angry and probably goes to vent to Jordan. Trina stays mad at Portia but maybe softens up towards the baby because she thinks it's her half-sibling via her mom, not her full sibling. Wait, no, it would be her half-sibling either way. Math is hard. Whatever. But then, mark my words, Brad Cooper is going to find out. He's working in the lab. He's going to see the digital footprint. He's going to see that Portia logged in at 3 a.m. and changed positive to negative or whatever. And then the blackmail starts all over again. Nice baby you got there, Dr. Robinson. Be a shame if someone told Curtis he's the real daddy. I can hear him saying it. I can hear his voice. It's going to be a disaster. A train wreck. And I will be watching every single second of it with my popcorn. Honestly, Portia needs to get it together. I swear. She's a grown woman. She's a brilliant doctor. Why does she make decisions like a panicked teenager? Just tell the truth. Rip the band-aid off. Hey Curtis, it's your baby. Sorry about the affair. Let's co-parent. Is it awkward? Yes. Is it better than lying for 20 years and then having it explode in your face when the kid needs a kidney transplant or something? Yes. But no, this is General Hospital. Nobody does the logical thing. They do the thing that causes the most pain and requires the most flashbacks later. I'm actually exhausted just thinking about it. I need a nap, but I can't nap because I have to wait for this episode to air. I bet you anything the episode ends with her opening the envelope and then cut to black. And we have to wait until the next day to see the reaction. They love doing that to us. Cruel and unusual punishment. Anyway, that's the update. Portia is likely committing paternity fraud. Curtis is miserable. Isaiah is delusional. And Brad is lurking in the shadows like a goblin. Just another week in Port Charles. Next, I cannot even begin to process what is happening on my screen right now. Can we just take a second? Can we just breathe? Because I have been sitting here staring at the credits for the last 20 minutes trying to figure out if I am hallucinating or if the writers actually just went there. I mean, I have been watching General Hospital since the days when the Quartermains actually had a full Thanksgiving dinner without a disaster. And I have seen some wild twists. I've seen weather machines. I've seen aliens. I've seen Casey the alien. But Carly thinking she could tame Jack Brennan getting her heart stomped on and then pivoting to a potential romance with Valentin Cassadine. I need a drink. A strong one. Maybe whatever they were drinking at that lake house. Let's start with the Jack Brennan of it all. I am so frustrated with Carly, I could scream. And look, I love Carly. I am a Carly defender. When everyone was hating on her during the whole Nina, Sunny, disastrous Nixon Falls saga, I was there in the trenches defending her. But please, how many times are we going to do this? How many times is Carly going to look at a man who is clearly waving a red flag the size of the metro court and think, yeah, I can fix him? Everyone told her. Everyone. Jason told her. I'm pretty sure even Bobby came down from heaven in a dream to tell her. But no, Carly was convinced. She had this whole narrative in her head that she was the magic ingredient that would turn a hardened WSB agent into a puppy dog. She really thought Jack Brennan was going to give up his entire life's philosophy, his career, and his shady dealings, just because she batted those eyelashes and made him some coffee. And then the reveal? I literally threw a pillow at the TV when Jason Morgan, bless his stone cold heart, dropped the bomb. Jack didn't just lie to her. He didn't just keep secrets. He recruited Joss, Yoselin, her daughter. I mean, are you kidding me? You do not touch the kids. That is rule number 1 in Port Charles unless you want the wrath of the blonde hurricane coming down on you. The fact that Jack thought he could sneakily recruit Joss into the WSB right under Carly's nose and that she wouldn't find out, the hubris of this man. And honestly, it breaks my heart a little bit because for a second, just a split second, I saw the chemistry. I saw what Carly saw. Jack was charming, he was dangerous, he was different from Sunny, but still had that edge she likes. But recruiting Joss, that is unforgivable. That is the nail in the coffin. So naturally, what does Carly do when her I can fix him bubble bursts? Does she go to therapy? Does she take a spa day? No. She goes to a Swiss prison to find Valentin Casadin. Because of course she does. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Can we talk about the logistics of this for a second? The sheer drama of Carly flying to Switzerland heartbroken and furious to confront Valentin in his cell. It's so camp and I am obsessed with it. I know some people are saying it's unrealistic, but hello, we watch a show where people come back from the dead on a bi-weekly basis. Let me have my Swiss prison drama. But here is where I am conflicted. And I need to know if I'm the only one feeling this, so please tell me in the comments. Are we actually shipping Carly and Valentin? I feel like I'm losing my mind for even suggesting it, but the chemistry, it's kind of undeniable. And I never thought I'd say that. I mean, think about their history. The Cassidines and the Corinthos, Spencer clan, are like oil and water. They are the Hatfields and McCoys of Port Charles. Valentin has done some terrible things. He's gaslit people, he's stolen babies, he's been a general menace. And Carly is. Well, Carly, but watching them at the lake house. Okay, let's break down the lake house scenes because that was cinema. First of all, the snowstorm trope, a classic. It never fails. You trap two characters in a cabin, lake house, elevator, cut the power or block the roads and force them to talk. It's soap opera 101 and I eat it up every single time. And the fact that Donna wasn't there, it was just Carly and Valentin and the fireside chat. I was glued to the screen. Valentin wasn't doing his usual smarmy, I'm the smartest person in the room shtick. Well, he was, but he was dialed down. He seemed vulnerable, and Carly wasn't yelling. She was listening. They were actually talking. I feel like Carly went into this expecting to hate him, expecting to use him or just vent her spleen about Brennan. But she ended up finding someone who actually gets it. Because think about it, Valentin knows what it's like to be the black sheep. Or he knows what it's like to love someone who doesn't fully trust you. He knows what it's like to try and be good and fail miserably. And Carly, she's the queen of trying to justify her bad decisions for the greater good. They are both chaotic neutral energy. And putting them together is either going to burn Port Charles to the ground or be the best thing that's happened to this show in years. I loved the moment where Valentin was just watching her. You could see the wheels turning in his head. He's always been fascinated by strong women. Nina, Anna, and Carly is the ultimate survivor. I think he's starting to find her entertaining, maybe even impressive. And Carly, I think she's realizing that Valentin isn't the cartoon villain she thought he was. He's complex. He's damaged. And we all know Carly loves a damaged man. It is her kryptonite. But, and this is a big but, Valentin is still hung up on Anna. We all know it. He knows it. The potted plant in the corner knows it. And this is where the Jason Morgan of it all comes back in. Spoilers are saying Jason is going to spill the beans about Anna to Carly this week. And if that happens, oh boy. If Carly finds out something about Anna that Valentin doesn't know, or if she realizes just how deep Valentin's feelings still go, it creates this delicious angst. Because right now Valentin is stuck at the lake house. He's physically with Carly, but his heart is with Anna. He wants to run to Anna's rescue, but he can't. He's trapped. And Carly, she's on the rebound. A massive, humiliating rebound from Brennan. This is a recipe for disaster, and I am here with a spoon. I have a feeling, and call me crazy, that we are heading for a Valentine's Day hookup. I mean, the holiday is literally in his name. It's too perfect. They're trapped, emotions are high, the fire is crackling. It's gonna happen. And I'm kind of terrified of what happens after. Because let's be real, is this a love story? Or is this two broken people using each other to lick their wounds? Carly is trying to forget that. She was played by Brennan. Valentin is trying to forget that he blew it with Anna. If they sleep together, is it going to be this great romance? Or are they going to wake up the next morning and go, oh God, what did we do? And then there's Jack Brennan. Ugh, Jack. He showed up at the lake house and ruined the vibe last week, which rude. But it also proved something. It proved that Carly isn't going back to him. The way she looked at him, that wasn't love anymore. That was pure, unadulterated rage, and I loved it. But Brennan isn't going to give up, is he? The man is a WSB agent. He's used to getting what he wants. He thinks he can just explain away the Jocelyn thing. Oh, it's for national security, Carly. You wouldn't understand. Yeah, try telling that to a mother who would burn the world down for her kids. Good luck with that, Jack. I think Valentin sees that too. He's litmus testing her, as the spoilers say. He's poking at her to see if she still cares about Jack. And I think he's realizing that she doesn't, or at least she's trying not to. And that opens the door for him. But here is my worry. I am worried that the writers are going to make this a quick fling and then go back to the status quo. I am worried they are going to tease us with this weird, unexpected pairing, and then have Valentin go running back to Anna II. She snaps her fingers. And look, I love Anna Devane. She is a queen. But her and Valentin, they've had their chance. They've done the dance. Maybe it's time for something new. Maybe it's time for something messy and unpredictable. Carly and Valentin are unpredictable. Imagine the family dinners. Imagine Sonny's face if he finds out Carly is dating a Cassadine. Imagine the absolute horror on Jocelyn's face. Mom, you're dating the guy who... Wait, what did he do again? There's so much. It would be comedy gold. And I have to say, the actor chemistry is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. Wright has chemistry with a brick wall, let's be honest, but putting her against James Patrick Stewart, it's electric. They have this banter, this rhythm. It's not the shouting matches she has with Sonny. It's not the lecturing she got from Drew. It's wit too. It's sharp. I think Carly needs that. She needs someone who can verbally spar with her without it turning into a brawl. She needs someone who is intellectually on her level, or at least thinks he is. So where do we go from here? Jason spills the tea about Anna. Carly probably tells Valentin. Valentin is devastated. Carly comforts him. One thing leads to another. And then we have the morning after. I really hope they don't brush past the Jocelyn betrayal though. I want to see Carly go full scorched earth on the WSB. I want to see her team up with Valentin to take Brennan down. Can you imagine a Carly, Valentin takedown scheme? It would be magnificent. Valentin has the brains and the resources. Carly has the guts and the sheer force of will. Brennan wouldn't stand a chance. And wouldn't that be the ultimate revenge, using the man Brennan hates to destroy him? I am manifesting this, but I'm also prepared to be hurt, because this is GH. They build us up just to knock us down. Remember when we thought Carly and Jason were finally going to be a real thing, and then Sonny came back from Nixon Falls with amnesia and ruined everything? Yeah, I have PTSD from that, so I'm keeping my guard up, but I can't help it. I am intrigued. I just hope the writers commit to the bit. Don't half-ass this. If you're going to put Carly and Valentin together, do it. Make it messy. Make it passionate. Make it controversial. Let them be the power couple of the lake house. And for the love of God, keep Jack Brennan away from them. I don't want to see his smug face trying to explain why he turned a college student into a spy. Also, can we talk about how Jason is just the perennial messenger of bad news lately? The guy comes back to town and all he does is deliver heartbreak. Hey Carly, your boyfriend is a traitor. Hey Carly, here's some sad news about Anna. Can we get Jason a storyline where he just gets to be happy for 5 minutes? Or maybe he can just go back to stacking blocks at the warehouse? Anyway, I'm rambling. It's late and I'm just so worked up about this. Bottom line, I am surprisingly Team Carly. Valentin, I never thought I'd say it. If you had told me 5 years ago I'd be rooting for this, I would have laughed in your face. But here we are. It's 2026, and up is down, left is right, and Carly is cozying up to a Cassadine in a snowstorm. I am ready for the Valentine's Day episode. I have my popcorn ready. I have my wine ready. If they don't kiss, I'm writing a strongly worded letter to the network. But seriously, what do you guys think? Am I crazy? Is this the worst idea ever? Do you still have hope for Jack Brennan? Or are you riding the Valentin train with me? And what about Anna? Do we think she's gonna swoop in and ruin it? Or is she too busy with her own drama? Next? Okay, let's back up. Let's just take a breath. Ross Cullum. First of all, the audacity of this man. The absolute nerve. He just waltzes into Carly's orbit like he owns the place. I was yelling at the screen. Carly, do not open the door. But of course it's Carly, so she's not gonna back down from a confrontation. But did you see the way he looked at her? That wasn't just a friendly visit. That was a predator circling prey. And the fact that he dropped those hints about her being a distraction for Jack Brennan. Excuse me, since when is Carly just a distraction? She's the main event, sir. But that's not even the part that has me typing this furiously at 2 a.m. It's what we all know is coming. It's the Jason Morgan of it all. Here is my problem, and I know you guys are going to agree with me on this. Jason knows. He knows exactly who Ross Cullum is. He knows Cullum is bad news. And how does he know? Because of Britt Westbourne. So Jason is sitting on this massive pile of intel that he got from Britt. He knows Cullum is shady. He likely knows Cullum is the one pulling the strings behind the attacks on Sonny. And yet silence. Crickets. Stone Cold is living up to his nickname a little too well right now. I can see the writing on the wall, and it makes me want to throw my remote. Jason is going to keep his mouth shut to protect everyone, right? That's his classic move. He thinks if he doesn't tell Carly, she'll stay safe. Has he met Carly? Have they not been best friends for decades? When has keeping Carly in the dark ever worked? Never. It just makes her go rogue. And we are already seeing it happen. The spoilers are literally shouting at us that Carly is planning a trip to Windermere. Windermere. The literal house of horrors. Why does anyone go to Spoon Island anymore? Nothing good happens there. It's cold, it's drafty, and currently it is infested with Jen Sidwell, who is basically a walking red flag in an expensive suit. And we know Sidwell is partnered up with Cullum. So let's do the math here. Carly doesn't know Cullum is the big bad, is greater than Carly thinks she can handle herself, is greater than Carly goes to Windermere, is greater than Carly walks right into a trap set by Sidwell and Cullum. And where is Jason? Probably in a warehouse, somewhere looking stoic and worried, debating whether or not to tell Carly the truth because he's too busy prioritizing Britt's safety. Don't get me wrong, I want Britt to be safe. I love Britt. But are you telling me Jason Morgan, the man who has literally jumped off bridges and blown up buildings for Carly, is going to let her walk into a lion's den because he's trying to juggle his loyalty? If Jason confesses, if he finally opens his mouth and tells Carly, hey, by the way, that guy Ross Cullum who just visited you, he's the one trying to kill Sonny, Carly's going to reel. And she should. She absolutely deserves to know. If I were Carly and I found out my best friend knew who was hunting my ex-husband and didn't tell me immediately, I would be flipping tables. I would be going full Carly at the Metro Court Bar on him. But it gets worse. Because it's not just about Sonny. It's about Jocelyn. We all know Carly's blind spot is her kids. You come for her, she fights back. You come for her kids, she ends you. It's simple biology. And Ross Cullum is WSB. He's deep in the intelligence world, which means he knows about Jocelyn. Maybe he knows about her involvement with Dex, or just her proximity to the mob world. Or maybe he's targeting her just to get to Carly and Sonny. If Jason drops the bomb that Cullum is a threat to Jocelyn, oh my god, Carly is going to be terrified. Like visceral mama bear terrified. And then she's going to get angry. And this is where I'm dreading the conflict, but also kind of living for the drama, because Jason is going to try to use that fear to control her. He's going to be like, Carly, you have to stay away from Cullum and Sidwell. It's too dangerous. Think of Joss. And Carly, she's going to look him dead in the eye and say, I can't just sit here. Because she can't. That's not who she is. She's going to want to take Cullum out. She's going to want to neutralize the threat times immediately, asterisk. And if she realizes that Jason is hesitating, that he's not taking Cullum down times right now, times because he's trying to protect Britt's cover or Britt's life, the explosion between Jason and Carly is going to be nuclear. I can hear the argument in my head already. Carly, you let this man walk around free while he targets my daughter. Jason, I have to protect Britt. She has the intel we need. Carly, so Britt's life is worth more than Jocelyn's. I mean, It's unfair. I know it's unfair because Jason loves Joss like a niece, but in the heat of the moment, Carly goes for the jugular. And frankly, if Jason is keeping secrets that put Joss in the crosshairs, he kinda deserves the heat. And let's talk about the Valentin Cassadine of it all. Carly's already juggling this alliance with Valentin to take down Brennan. She has so much on her plate. She's trying to run the hotel, manage the mob fallout deal with the pikeman mess. And now, she has to worry about the WSB director showing up at her door. It's too much. But also, can we talk about how creepy Ross Cullum is? I know the actor is doing a great job because I genuinely hate the character. But there's something so slimy about him. The way he knows things he shouldn't. The way he looks at Carly like he knows her secrets. I've seen some fans saying that maybe Cullum isn't all bad or that he's a great character. Nope. I'm not buying it. The man is partnered with Jen Sidwell. Do you remember what Sidwell is like? The guy is a diamond smuggling warlord maniac. You don't partner with Sidwell if you're a good guy. Jason needs to wake up. I know he's trying to play 4D chess right now, managing Brit's safety and the Sunny threat, but he's failing at the communication part. And that is always Jason's downfall. He thinks he can burden it all himself. Remember when he didn't tell Carly about the whole married to get the business thing with Brenda back in the day? Okay, bad example. But you know what I mean. Or when he kept the truth about Nelle hidden for too long. Every time he tries to handle it, it blows up in Carly's face. And this time the stakes are so high. If Carly goes to Windermere unprepared without knowing that Cullum and Sidwell are working together, she is walking into a hostage situation. Or worse. I am seriously worried about what's going to happen to her at Windermere. Is she going there to find info on Brennan? Is she going to confront Sidwell? And what happens if she runs into Cullum there? Imagine the scene. Carly thinks she's sneaking in to get intel, and suddenly Ross Cullum steps out of the shadows. Hello, Mrs. Spencer. I told you were a distraction. Chills. Literal chills. I need Jason to step up. I need him to stop being Jason the protector of secrets and start being Jason the partner. He needs to trust Carly with the truth. Yes, she's a loose cannon. Yes, she'll probably do something reckless. But she's smarter than people give her credit for. If she knows the full picture, if she knows Cullum is the WSB threat targeting Sunny and Joss, she can plan accordingly. If he keeps her in the dark, she's gonna make a mistake. Ah, fatal one. And I swear, if this storyline ends with Jason having to choose between saving Brit and saving Carly, I'm going to throw my TV out the window. Don't do this to us writers. We have suffered enough. But seriously, the Carly reeling over the danger aspect is the key here. Carly functions best when she's backed into a corner, but only when she knows who the enemy is. Right now she thinks Brennan is the complicated one, she thinks Valentin is the ally, and she probably thinks Cullum is just a nuisance. She doesn't realize Cullum is the shark, and Jason is the only one who can tell her. So here is my plea to the GH writers: let Jason speak. Let him go to Carly's kitchen, sit her down and say Cullum is the threat. He's after Sunny. He's after Joss. We need to work together. Don't let him hide it to protect Brit. Because if Carly finds out later that he knew and that he let her walk into Windermere blind, their friendship might not survive it. And honestly, I wouldn't blame her. Also, can we just acknowledge that Sunny is basically a sitting duck right now? The man has lost his edge. He needs Carly and Jason looking out for him because he is clearly not seeing the Cullum threat coming either. And Jocelyn, my girl is trying so hard to be independent, but she is messing with forces way above her pay grade. If Cullum is WSB, he can make her disappear. That is terrifying. Carly needs to know so she can lock Joss in a tower or something. I'm stressed, you guys. I'm stressed for Carly. I'm frustrated with Jason. I'm creeped out by Cullum, and I am terrified of whatever is about to go down at Windermere. General Hospital spoilers say Carly could get in over her head if she's not careful. Could. She is already over her head. She's drowning, and she doesn't even know it because her best friend won't throw her the life raft of truth. I'm gonna need a stiff drink to get through the rest of this week. Stay tuned for the chaos, indeed. Because if this blows up the way I think it's going to, Port Charles is never going to be the same. What do you guys think? Is Jason right to keep quiet to protect Brit? Or is he being an idiot who's about to get Carly killed? And are we trusting Valentin in this alliance? Next. So here we go. Another wild day in Port Charles, and somehow Drew Kane is the guy lying there trapped in his own body. While the whole town basically shrugs and says, guess he had a stroke. But no, he didn't. Because General Hospital spoilers say this is not some random medical crisis. This is a setup. A slow, quiet, creepy attack. And it's coming from the one person who's supposed to be taking care of him. Willow Kane. Yes, that Willow. Drew trapped in his own body. And he knows it. So the doctors think Drew had a stroke. They've got the scans, the big medical words, the serious faces. They're talking about clot busting, drugs, rehab, long-term damage, all that. On paper, it looks like a tragic medical event. But behind the scenes, it's straight up sabotage. Because Willow is the one who slipped him an injection before all this went down. It wasn't some random thing either. She knew what she was doing. And now she's keeping him in that same frozen state by giving him more doses, keeping him quiet, keeping him weak, keeping him stuck. And here's the wild part Drew knows. He can't move. He can't talk. He's basically trapped in his own head, but he's in there, fully aware. He remembers what Willow did. He remembers that shot. He remembers the way she looked at him, Bruce. And he knows this is not fate or bad luck. This is a plan. So while everyone else is hovering with sympathy cards and poor Drew talk, he's lying there screaming on the inside. The thoughts in Drew's head. And YGH might let us hear them. General Hospital spoilers hint that Drew is not just going to lie there and take this forever. And honestly, he's got nothing but time right now. No phone. No voice. No real way to move. Just his brain. So guess what that means? It means the writers have the perfect excuse to let us in. No filter. No calm hero routine. Just raw thoughts. Imagine it. The camera close on his face. Still, staring at the ceiling. Then you hear his inner voice. Maybe angry. Maybe scared. Maybe sarcastic. Something like, you think I'm done, Willow? You really think this is how my story ends? And they could really go there. Show how hard it is to be awake and aware but treated like a vegetable. Everyone talking around him, over him, about him, but not to him like he's actually still there. And from inside his head he's starting to plan. Not some big Navy SEAL mission. Not yet. Just simple, desperate stuff. Who can I get to notice? Who actually looks me in the eye? Who isn't buying Willow's perfect devoted caretaker act? Willow's nurse act gets darker. So while Drew's brain is working overtime, Willow is out here playing Florence Nightingale. On the surface, she fluffs his pillows, adjusts his blanket, tells the doctor she's doing everything she can, acting worried, concerned, tired but devoted. But when it's just the two of them, different story. She's the one holding the vial, the syringe, giving him another dose of that mystery drug that keeps his body locked down. Not enough to kill him, not yet, just enough to keep him helpless. And that's rough. Because she knows, he knows. You can feel that tension. That sick, quiet power struggle. She can look him in the eyes and basically say with her face, you can't stop me. So every time she leans in with that syringe, Drew's probably thinking, come on, someone walk in. Right now. Just once. Catch her. Kai Taylor, the one guy who might actually notice. Enter Kai Taylor. Now Kai isn't some big legacy character in Port Charles. Not yet. But he's already got one thing going for him. He doesn't trust Willow. And that alone puts him miles ahead of half the town. General Hospital spoilers say Kai is supposed to be around the house sometimes. Keeping an eye on Drew. Maybe as a guard. Maybe as backup. Maybe just as an extra presence so Willow doesn't have full control. And that's where things get interesting. Because when you already suspect someone, you start really watching them. Not just the big stuff. The little moments too, the weird glances, the way Willow might stiffen when someone comes near Drew's room, the way she clutches her bag of meds. So imagine Kai hanging back in the hallway one day. He hears movement, he peeks in, and there's Willow, hovering a little too close with a syringe and a shady little vial that doesn't look like something GH Pharmacy labeled for stroke recovery. He doesn't have proof yet, but he has eyes and gut instinct. And that might be enough to make him lean over Drew and say something like, "You want to tell me what's really going on here?" The blink code, Drew's only way out. So how does a guy who can't move or talk tell someone, "Hey, that woman is poisoning me"? You go basic. Blinking. General Hospital spoilers tease that Drew might start using any small movement he can manage to try and send a message. A blink, a twitch, maybe a tiny shift of his eyes. Anything that breaks the unresponsive label. And someone like Kai, already on edge about Willow, might pick up on that. Ask yes or no questions. Watch for blinks. Is Willow hurting you? One blink for yes. Did she do something to you before this so-called stroke? Another blink. Harder. Longer. Desperate. And suddenly, it's not just gut feeling anymore. It's confirmation. From the victim himself. So then Kai has a choice. He can confront Willow and risk tipping her off. Or he can quietly start gathering proof. Maybe watch her more. Maybe catch her with that vial again. Maybe talk to someone else who's worried. Because Kai isn't the only one who has doubts. Alexis Davis steps in with a card and questions. General Hospital spoilers also tease that Alexis Davis could make an appearance at Drew's bedside soon. It sounds small. A visit. A card from Scout Quartermain. A mom doing the polite thing and dropping in on a friend who's going through a health crisis. But with Alexis, small usually isn't just small. There's always a brain working behind her eyes. So she shows up with the whole get well thing. Maybe a card with messy kid handwriting. Maybe a snack Willow will pretend to appreciate. But Alexis is worried. Not just about Drew. About Willow taking care of Drew. So while Willow puts on her warm "I'm doing my best" mask, Alexis might be studying her. The tone, the tension, the way Willow jumps in to answer questions for Drew. And because Alexis is not easily fooled, she might decide to talk directly to Drew. "Drew, can you hear me?" Drew, blink if you understand me. And if he does, if his eyes move, if there's even the faintest hint that someone is still in there trying to reach out, that changes everything. Suddenly, this isn't just some poor guy in a coma-like state. This is a conscious man trapped inside his own body. And if he can blink, he can answer. Same deal as with Kai. Yes or no questions. Short, sharp, careful. Drew, is something wrong with Willow? And if he blinks for yes, game on. Lucas Jones, a Doctor Who, might actually listen. And then there's the medical side of this. Drew's doctors already think stroke and are moving on with their lives. But what if someone like Lucas Jones gets pulled in for a house call? Lucas knows medicine. He knows how things are supposed to look with stroke patients. How they recover. What their vitals do. What the meds should be. So if he comes by to check on Drew and sees things that don't quite fit the textbook case, that's a problem. Maybe the numbers don't line up. Maybe the timing doesn't make sense. Maybe the effects of this stroke don't respond to typical treatment. And if Lucas is standing there asking Drew simple questions and Drew starts trying to blink answers, Lucas might realize this is not just post-stroke confusion. This is someone trying to talk. He could push for more tests. Different labs. A talk screen. Anything that might catch Willow's little drug game. And once a doctor starts asking those questions, Willow's whole plan gets shaky. Willow's control starts to slip. Of course, Willow isn't stupid. She's careful. She's scared. And she knows that as long as Drew can't move or speak, she has the upper hand. So the last thing she wants is people hanging around asking him a bunch of questions. General Hospital spoilers say she may get more and more tense about leaving Drew alone with anyone. Whether it's Kai, Alexis, Lucas, or even random staff, she's going to be on edge. Hovering, interrupting, answering for him. And that could actually be her undoing. Because when someone refuses to give a patient privacy, when they keep jumping in, when they act like a gatekeeper instead of a caregiver, people notice, especially people who are already suspicious. So Willow, trying to keep control, might actually show her hand. Drew fights back, even if it's just one word. Still, there's one more possible twist here. What if the drug doesn't keep working forever? General Hospital spoilers teased that if Willow slips up and misses a dose, or if Drew's body starts to build a tolerance, he might get just enough strength to do more than blink. Maybe he can move a hand, try to sit up, slur a word. It doesn't have to be a full recovery right away. In fact, it's more dramatic if it isn't. Instead, imagine Drew fighting like hell just to form one sound, one word, will, or even just no, when she comes at him with the syringe again, or he drags himself an inch out of bed, knocks something over, makes enough noise that someone comes running and finds Willow mid-doze. He doesn't need a full heroic comeback yet, just enough of a break in the paralysis to prove this isn't a normal stroke. Just enough to make everyone stop and say, wait, what's really going on here? The bottom line, Drew won't stay silent forever. So yeah, right now Drew looks helpless. Flat on his back, unable to move, stuck in this silent horror show while Willow plays the dedicated wife with a syringe hidden in her hand. But General Hospital spoilers say he's not giving up. Even if all he has is a blink, he's gonna use it. Even if all he can do is move his eyes, he's going to try to send a message. To Kai, to Alexis, to Lucas, to anyone willing to look past the surface and see that something is very wrong here. And Willow, she can't be perfect forever. She can't keep every dose timed right forever. She can't watch every second forever. Sooner or later she slips, or Drew's body fights back. And when that happens, when Drew finally gets one clear chance to tell his story, even in the smallest way, everything changes. So stay tuned, because this quiet storyline, the one with the still room and the blinking eyes, might just explode into one of the most shocking exposes in Port Charles. And when Drew finally gets his voice back, even a cracked broken one, Willow better be ready to face what she did. Next, General Hospital's Cameron Mathison steps off the hospital bed and onto the movie guide stage. So on screen, Drew Kane is stuck in a hospital bed, locked in and silent thanks to Willow's desperate move. But off screen, Cameron Mathison is doing the exact opposite. Moving, talking, hosting an award show in Hollywood like it's no big deal, even though it clearly means a lot to him. And yeah, it really does. On Sunday, February 8, Mathison jumped on Instagram and dropped a long, very happy update about hosting the 33rd Movie Guide Awards. So not a soap set, not Port Charles. A real-life stage red carpet spotlights all of it. And he sounded straight up humbled by the whole thing. He called it an honor to host the Movie Guide Awards in the heart of Hollywood. A night that meant a lot, and an opportunity he's deeply grateful for. No hard edge, no too cool tone. Just plain, simple thanks. And it shows in everything he posted: photos, clips, behind the scenes, Polaroids, the works. From ICU in Port Charles to a Hollywood stage. So it's kind of wild. On General Hospital, his character Drew can't talk, can't move, can't even blink out a thank you. But in real life, Mathison is out there on stage, smiling, working the room, doing the full leading man thing in front of a live audience. And the show leaned right into that image. In the first clip he shared, the announcer hyped him up as a leading man who looks suspiciously like he hasn't aged since his days on All My Children, which honestly is a fair point, because some people age. And then there's Cameron Mathison, who apparently just doesn't, or at least not in the usual way. The announcer then reminded everyone who he is right now, the star of General Hospital and Great American Media's theatrical Another Sweet Christmas. So the intro wasn't just nostalgia. It tied his daytime roots, his current soap run, and his work in family movies all into one neat little package. And it set the tone for the night: faith, values, entertainment, and a familiar face at the center of it. The host who still gets starstruck by movies. But what really stood out in his post wasn't the joke about his not aging face. It was the way he talked about movies themselves. In another clip, Mathison shared why this event mattered to him on a deeper level. He talked about the magic of movie making, how films take people to places they will never go, how they can move people in a way that sticks. Simple ideas, but true. And for someone who's done a lot of TV, a lot of hosting, a lot of family movies, it felt honest. Like he still sees the business as something special, not just a job. Movies and TV, he said, let people experience things they never will in real life. Different eras, different worlds, different feelings. And the way he put it, you could tell he still feels like a fan, not just a guy with a suit and a mic. Red carpet with familiar faces. Of course, it wouldn't be an awards night without a red carpet lineup. So Mathison also posted shots of himself with Paul Green and Candace Cameron Bure, big names for anyone who follows the family movie space. Paul Green, known for his own run of feel-good movies. Candace Cameron Bure, one of the most recognizable faces in the genre, especially for viewers of Great American Family and similar networks. And there they were standing, shoulder to shoulder with Mathison. Three people who have basically built a whole second home in this world of clean, cozy, faith-friendly content. The photos weren't stiff. They looked like people who actually like being around each other. And that fits the vibe of the Movie Guide Faith and Values Awards Hollywood, but not the usual sharp-edged, cynical version. More like a softer, warmer pocket of the industry. Fans and friends flood the comments. So the post went up, and the comments did what comments do when people actually like the person posting. Danica McKellar, another great American media star, popped in with a simple, very human note. Was so great to see you. Short, friendly, no branding speak. Just someone happy they crossed paths again at the show. And then the fans took over. One called him a great actor and even greater human being. Simple line, but heavy praise. Because it's one thing when people say someone is good at their job. It hits different when they go out of their way to say the person behind the job is better. Another fan locked in on his comments about movies and what they can do for people. They wrote about how films and TV shows can inspire, motivate, comfort, and completely enchant us, and how they take viewers into other worlds and let them feel emotions they sometimes can't even put into words. Which, honestly, is a solid way to sum up why people still show up for stories in every form, even when the real world feels heavy. So, between the fellow actors and the everyday viewers, one thing was clear: people weren't just happy he got the job. They believed he was the right one to do it. What Movie Guide Night is actually about. The 33rd Annual Movie Guide Faith and Values Awards Gala took place on Saturday, February 6th. So, while the Instagram post hit on February 8th, the work, the speeches, the red carpet moments were already in the books by then. And the event isn't just another Hollywood party. Movie Guide focuses on honoring films and TV shows that line up with faith and family values. So the vibe is different from most awards shows. Less about shock, more about hope. Less about who wore what to get attention, more about what stories brought light to people who needed it. The gala brings together actors, producers, writers, and executives who want to support content that families can watch together without holding the remote in panic mode. And handing hosting duties to someone like Mathison, who's built a lot of his recent career around feel-good, wholesome projects, fits that goal perfectly. The broadcast will air on Great American Family Network and will also stream on Great American Pureflix at a later date. So viewers who didn't get the fancy invite or who don't follow every award show will still get a chance to see the speeches, the winners, and of course Mathison working the stage. The soap star who never really left the feel-good lane. But there's another layer here that makes this feel like more than just another gig for him. Mathison has been part of daytime and family TV for years. From his days on All My Children, to his current run on General Hospital, to his work with Great American Media. He's lived in that space where drama and warmth collide. So hosting an event that celebrates faith and values in entertainment lines up with what he's already been doing on camera. And while his GH storyline right now is dark locked-in syndrome, life hanging in the balance, a character literally trapped in his own body, the real-life moment at Movie Guide is the total flip side. On one screen, he can't say a word. On another, he's the one guiding the whole night, speaking straight into the mic, steering the room. That kind of contrast is normal in soapland, but it still hits a bit harder when fans scroll from a clip of Drew lying there in a hospital bed to a reel of Mathison in a tux, greeting a crowd in Hollywood. Gratitude in the middle of the grind. What really cuts through the usual noise is how openly thankful he is. No big speech about owning the moment or crushing the stage. Just a host who seemed genuinely moved that he got to do it at all. He called the night meaningful. He called the opportunity something he was deeply grateful for. And he didn't dress it up with fancy words. And maybe that's why the post felt so real. Because this business can be sharp and fast and brutal. Roles come and go. Storylines swing, shows get cancelled. But in the middle of all that, here is someone taking a beat to say, this mattered. This meant something. Even the little details in his post, the Polaroids from backstage, the quick clips, the not super polished feel made it look more like someone documenting a night they want to remember, not just loading content to tick a box. Why this hits fans so hard right now? So why does a hosting gig hit this big with fans who mostly know him as Drew Kane? Because fans have been watching him go through heavy stuff on GH. Locked in syndrome isn't light material. Viewers sit there and watch people talk over Drew, fight around him, worry about him, while his face barely moves and his body does nothing. It's a tough watch. And it makes people think about their own fears, their own what-if scenarios. Then they flip over to social media, and they see Mathison smiling on a red carpet, talking about the magic of movies, thanking people for a chance to host a night built around hope, faith, and meaningful stories. That kind of whiplash, dark plot on one side, bright real-life moment on the other somehow makes both hit harder. The on-screen struggle feels more intense. The off-screen gratitude feels more earned. And in a weird way, fans get the full picture, the actor doing the emotional work on the show, and the human being getting a little joy and recognition in the real world. A night that lingers after the cameras shut off. So when the 33rd Movie Guide Faith and Values Awards Gala finally hits Great American Family and Great American Pure Flicks, a lot of viewers won't just be tuning in to see who wins what. They'll be watching Cameron Mathison. They'll be watching how he carries the room, how he introduces people, how he talks about stories that lift people up instead of dragging them down. And maybe they'll remember that Instagram caption that he called the night an honor, that he said it meant a lot, that he sounded more like someone pinching himself than someone just clocking another job. Because under the tux, under the stage lights, under the calm host voice, there's still the same guy who once showed up on daytime TV, made a name for himself, and somehow looks like he hasn't aged since. And now while his character lies still and silent in Port Charles, the real Cameron Mathison is out there in Hollywood wide awake, speaking from the heart about why movies matter. And for a lot of fans, that's one more reason to keep watching both the hospital bed in Port Charles and the bright stage, where stories get honored for giving people a little more light. Next. So, here we are again. Another Jason Morgan exit. And honestly, can we just talk about how this feels like deja vu at this point? Because if you've been watching General Hospital for more than 5 minutes, you know that Steve Burton leaving the show is basically a recurring theme at this point. But this time it's different. Kind of. Maybe. Burton jumped on Instagram yesterday, Tuesday, February 10th to be exact, and dropped the news that basically nobody wanted to hear. He's taking a break. A short break, he called it. And look, I get it. The guy just got married. He wants to spend time with his family. That's totally reasonable, and honestly good for him. But man, the timing just feels rough for fans who've been riding high on his return since last March. The Instagram post was pretty straightforward. He posted this photo of himself looking all casual and Steve Burton-ish, with a caption that basically said everything we needed to know. Hey everyone, I wanted to share that I'll be taking a short break from at General Hospital ABC. And then he went on to explain about being newly married and wanting quality time with family. He said he's grateful for support and will be back this summer. Signed it, much love, SB, which is very him, very casual, very to the point. And, of course, the comment section exploded. Because that's what happens when you tell General Hospital fans that Jason Morgan is leaving again. Even if it's temporary, even if it's just for a few months, people have feelings about this. His on-screen son jumped in there too. Asher and Tonazin, who plays Danny Morgan, commented, "Family first. See ya soon." Which is sweet and supportive, but also probably what we're all thinking. Like, yes, family first, absolutely, but also we just got you back, man. Because here's the thing. Burton made this huge explosive return in March 2024, and that return was massive. Fans had been waiting for it since November 2021 when he left the show. But that exit wasn't his choice. Not really. ABC had this whole COVID-19 vaccine mandate policy during the pandemic, and Burton didn't comply with it. So he was let go. Just like that. One of the biggest stars on the show gone because of a policy, and fans were divided on that whole situation. Some people totally supported the mandate and thought it was the right call. Other people thought firing Steve Burton was insane and unfair. The whole thing became this big mess on social media with people arguing and taking sides, and it was just exhausting, honestly. But then, the policy got dropped, and Burton came back, and suddenly Port Charles had Jason Morgan again, and it felt like everything was right in the world. The prodigal son returned and all that jazz. During his time away from GH, though, Burton wasn't just sitting around doing nothing. He went back to Days of Our Lives, which is wild because that's where he started way back in the 1980s. He played Harris Michaels originally and then reprised that role while he was away from General Hospital. So it's not like he disappeared from soaps entirely. He just went to a different soap, which honestly is such a soap actor thing to do. Let me back up a bit. Because if you're new to General Hospital or you've only been watching for a few years, you might not know the whole Jason Morgan story. And it's a story worth knowing because the character has been around forever. Steve Burton joined General Hospital back in 1991. 1991. That's like 35 years ago at this point, which is absolutely insane when you think about it. But here's the kicker. When he first joined, he wasn't playing the Jason Morgan we know today. He was playing Jason Quatermain, rich kid, medical student, totally different vibe. Then came 1995, and the car accident that changed everything. Because this wasn't just any car accident, this was the car accident that literally rewrote Jason's entire character. He got brain damage from the accident and basically became a completely different person. Darker, edgier, more dangerous, and he decided he didn't want to be a Quatermain anymore. So he dropped the Q name and became Jason Morgan instead. And that's when things got really interesting, because that's when he teamed up with Sonny Corinthos and got involved in organized crime. The whole mob enforcer thing, the dangerous lifestyle, all of that, and honestly that's the Jason that fans fell in love with. The brooding, motorcycle riding, leather jacket wearing anti-hero who would do anything for the people he loved. But Burton hasn't been on the show continuously this whole time. Oh no. There have been exits and returns and exits and returns. It's been a whole roller coaster. He left in 2012 when he decided to jump ship to The Young and the Restless. And he played Dylan McAvoy over there for a while. Which was weird for General Hospital fans because suddenly Steve Burton was on a different soap playing a completely different character, and it was like watching your ex date someone new or something. Not fun, but he came back to GH in 2017. Home sweet home and all that. Port Charles welcomed Jason Morgan back with open arms, and things were good for a while. 4 years to be exact. Then came the 2021 exit because of the vaccine mandate situation. And now here we are. Lancen Archelieu. Burton just came back less than a year ago and he's already leaving again. Temporarily, sure. Summer's not that far away. It's only February now, so we're talking 4 or 5 months? That's not forever. But still, when you've watched this character exit and return so many times, you start to get a little nervous every time someone says, I'm taking a break. Because what if the break becomes permanent? What if something happens and summer comes and goes and he doesn't come back? Soap fans have trust issues, and honestly, can you blame us? The newly married thing is sweet though. Burton got married recently and apparently wants to do the honeymoon period properly with actual quality time with his new wife and family. Which again, totally reasonable. Completely understandable. Good for him for prioritizing his personal life. But from a storytelling standpoint, from a fan standpoint, it's rough timing. General Hospital has been building up all these storylines with Jason. The whole thing with Sonny, the relationship with Carly, the connection with Sam, Danny, growing up, all of these threads that have been developing. And now they're going to have to work around Burton's absence somehow. Either they'll send Jason off on some business for Sonny, or maybe there'll be another medical emergency, or he'll just mysteriously disappear for a while. Whatever it is, the writers are going to have to get creative. And you know what? They've done it before. This isn't the first time they've had to write around a major star's absence. Soap operas are actually pretty good at that kind of thing because it happens all the time. Actors need breaks. Actors get other jobs. Actors have personal situations. Life happens. But Jason Morgan is such a central character. He's connected to so many other characters and storylines. Taking him out even temporarily creates this ripple effect through the whole show. How does Sonny handle business without Jason? What happens with Carly? What about Danny, who just got his dad back? These are questions the show is going to have to answer. Some fans are already speculating about what this means for future storylines. Will Jason and Carly finally get together when he comes back? Will there be some new danger waiting for him? Will his absence create opportunities for other characters to step up? The speculation is already running wild on social media and fan forums. And speaking of social media, Burton's Instagram post has been getting crazy engagement. Thousands of comments. Fans wishing him well. Fans saying they'll miss Jason. Fans begging him to come back soon. Some people being supportive about the marriage and family time. Other people expressing disappointment about the timing. It's the full range of human emotion right there in the comment section. The thing about Steve Burton is that he's been such a staple of General Hospital for so long that it's hard to imagine the show without him. Even when he's been gone, there's always been this sense that he'd come back eventually. And he always has. So maybe this time won't be any different. Maybe summer will roll around and Jason Morgan will ride back into Port Charles on his motorcycle and everything will go back to normal. Or maybe it won't. Maybe this break will turn into something longer. Maybe Burton will realize he likes having more time off. Maybe he'll get another job opportunity. Who knows? The soap world is unpredictable like that. For now though, fans are going to have to deal with a Jason-less General Hospital for a few months. Which honestly might not be the worst thing in the world if you think about it. Sometimes absence makes the heart grow fonder. Sometimes a character being gone makes you appreciate them more when they come back. And sometimes the show uses that time to develop other characters and storylines that might have been overshadowed. But still, it's Jason Morgan. It's Steve Burton. It's a 35-year legacy we're talking about here. So yeah, fans are going to miss him a lot, and they're gonna count down the days until summer when he's supposed to return. The real question is, what storyline will they use for his exit? Will it be quick? Will they build up to it over a few episodes? Will Jason just disappear off screen? These are the logistics that soap fans obsess over because the how matters almost as much as the why. And you can bet that when Burton does come back this summer, it's going to be big, because that's how soaps work. You can't have Jason Morgan casually stroll back into town like nothing happened. There's gonna be drama. There's gonna be danger. There's probably going to be some kind of explosion or shootout or near-death experience, because that's just how Jason's storylines go. So yeah, Steve Burton is taking a break. Jason Morgan is leaving temporarily. Fans are sad, but understanding. The show will go on. Summer will come. And hopefully, fingers crossed, Jason will be back causing chaos in Port Charles like nothing ever happened. That's the hope anyway. That's what we're all holding on to. Because General Hospital without Jason Morgan just feels wrong somehow. Even if we know it's not forever. Even if we know he's coming back. It still feels wrong. But hey, family first. Quality time with loved ones. New marriage to celebrate. These are good things. These are important things. And if Steve Burton needs a few months to live his life and be happy, then we should support that. Even if we're going to miss watching Jason Morgan be a badass on our screens every week. So much love back at you, SB. Enjoy the break. Enjoy the family time. Enjoy being newly married. We'll be here waiting when you get back. Port Charles isn't going anywhere. And neither are the fans. Next, War Faith and a 102-year-old's unshakable peace art. Stratton Brown opens up on State of Mind. So this past Sunday happened, and General Hospital fans got something completely unexpected. Maurice Bernard, you know, the guy who plays Sonny Corinthos, had Josh Swickard's grandfather on his show State of Mind. Art Stratton Brown. The man is 102 years old. Let that sink in for a second. Ipalingar. And honestly, it was one of those episodes that just hits different. Like you start watching because you're a GH fan and you're curious. But then You're sitting there 40 minutes later with tears in your eyes wondering why nobody talks about this stuff anymore. But let me back up. We already reported on the first part. You know, the discipline talk growing up in Chicago, the gangs going off to World War II. All of that. But there was so much more. So much. And Maurice, bless him, he was clearly fascinated. You could see it on his face. The man knows trauma, right? He's been open about his own struggles with mental health. So, having someone who lived through actual war sitting across from him, that's powerful. Art talked about the war. Really talked about it. Not in that sanitized history book way, but in the way someone who was actually there talks about it. A friend getting shot, nearly getting shot himself. The chaos, the fear, and Maurice just sat there riveted. You could tell he was processing it all. But then, and this is where it got really interesting, they moved on. Because here's the thing, nobody really thinks about how do you come back from that? How do you experience war, see people die, almost die yourself, and then just come home and be okay? Because back then, there was no PTSD diagnosis, no therapy, no support groups, nothing. So how did Art do it? Well, the Bible. That's how. And look, I'm not here to preach at anyone. But the way this man talked about his faith, it wasn't preachy. It wasn't holier than thou. It was just honest, raw, real. Art read the Bible before the war. That's what he said. But it was during the war, specifically in an army hospital, that everything changed. That's when prayer became more than just words. It became survival. See, Art got sick. Really sick. Like pulled off the battlefield sick. And they stuck him in this hospital that wasn't even really a hospital. More like a tent. With a stove. And rows of army cots. Picture that for a second. You're in your 20s, you're fighting a war, and now you're so sick they've pulled you out. And the hospital is a tent. But it gets worse. So there's this doctor. And the doctor, according to Art, butched around. Those were his words. Butched around. And told him he wouldn't live to the end of the week. Just like that. No bedside manner. No comforting words. Just you're dying, kid. Art admitted he was a mess by that point. High fever. Feeling awful. And then 2 days later, still in his 20s, death started approaching. That's how he described it. Not like a metaphor, but like an actual feeling. I just about died, he said. I knew I was dying. I could just feel my life leaving my body. Can you imagine being that young and feeling your life literally draining away? But this is where it gets interesting, because that's when Art turned to God. Not in some dramatic conversion moment, but in desperation. In that raw, terrified way you turn to anything when you've got nothing left. He said, and Maurice and Josh were hanging on every word. Well, Lord, I'm your personal property. You're in charge of. You can take care of your own stuff. I belong to you. Simple words. Not fancy. Not flowery. Just real. And Art kept repeating that prayer. Fighting off panic. Clinging to those words. And then one day something shifted. Suddenly, I began to feel like I was in a sphere of peace, he said. Of warm peace. I mean, it just felt wonderful. Now look, I'm a journalist. I report facts. And I'm not here to tell you what to believe. But the way Art described that moment, the look on his face, you can't fake that. That's not someone reading a script. That's someone remembering something real. And here's the kicker. He started getting better. Despite the doctor's grim prediction. Despite being told he wouldn't make it. The 102-year-old sitting on that couch walked out of the hospital. His words. They put him on limited service after that. Which meant he had time. Time to think. Time to process. Time to figure out what all of this meant. The war. The near-death experience. All of it. So then Josh, and props to Josh for this because it takes guts, asked his grandfather straight up about death. Because Art's 102, and that's not a question you ask lightly. But Josh went there. What does Art think about the end of life? And Art's answer, it's beautiful. Really. For him, every day is a gift. That's not just a nice saying. That's how he actually lives. He's deeply thankful to the Lord for each day. Each morning, He described his morning routine, and honestly, it's kind of amazing. Art talks out loud, to God, not in some formal prayer way, but conversationally, like talking to a friend. He quotes verses of scripture. He sings, all while making breakfast. Just picture that. A 102-year-old man in his kitchen making breakfast, singing scripture, talking to God. That's not religious obligation. That's relationship. And in those mornings, Art thinks about people. His parents, his grandparents, dozens of different friends who really blessed me through my life. And he prays for them, for their families, because they blessed him. There's something deeply human about that. Something we've kind of lost in our modern disconnected world. This idea of gratitude, of remembering people who shaped you, of blessing them in return. Art reads the Psalms. That's his go-to. And when he does, he said, I feel so great, so good, so positive. The way he said it, you could tell it wasn't performative. It was genuine. But here's what really got me, and what clearly got Maurice too, because you could see him tearing up. Art doesn't fear death at all. And not in that fake brave way some people pretend, but genuinely, because in his words, filling my life with praise and thanks displaces every negative thought I could have. Think about that. A man who almost died at 20-something, who saw friends killed, who fought in World War II, who's now 102 years old and staring down the end of his life, and he's not afraid, because gratitude has pushed out fear. Maurice wrapped it up emotionally. You could tell he was moved. He talked about how touching the spirituality was, how powerful, and honestly, you'd have to be made of stone not to be affected by Art's story. Because here's the thing, we live in this age where everything's medicated and therapized and diagnosed. And don't get me wrong, mental health treatment is crucial. Maurice himself is a huge advocate for mental health awareness. But there's also something to be said for the old ways. For faith, for prayer, for gratitude, for finding peace not through pharmaceuticals but through something deeper. Not saying one's better than the other. But Art's story shows that for some people, that spiritual foundation is everything. It got him through war, through near death, through 102 years of life. And it's still getting him through today. Josh must be so proud of his grandfather. The man's lived an entire century plus 2 years. He's seen everything. And he's still here, still singing, still praying, still finding joy in breakfast and scripture and memories of people who blessed him. This is the kind of content State of Mind exists for really. Maurice has created this space where deep conversations can happen, where people can be vulnerable, where stories like Art's can be told. Because honestly, when's the last time you heard a 102-year-old World War II veteran talk openly about faith and death and peace? We don't hear these stories enough. The World War II generation is dying out, and with them we're losing these first-hand accounts. These perspectives, these lessons. Art's story isn't just about war. It's not just about faith. It's about resilience, about finding peace in chaos, about gratitude displacing fear, about maintaining relationships with God, with people, with memories throughout your entire life. And, okay, yeah, I'm a little emotional writing this, because it's rare to encounter something this genuine, this unfiltered. Art wasn't trying to sell anything. He wasn't performing. He was just sharing his life, his truth. Maurice asked the right questions. Josh brought vulnerability to the conversation as a grandson. And Art gave us something precious, a window into a life well lived, a century of experience, and a roadmap for finding peace even when everything around you is falling apart. The interview's up on Maurice's State of Mind platform, and if you haven't watched it, do yourself a favor, set aside the time, because this isn't just content. This is legacy. This is history. This is someone sharing the kind of wisdom you can only get from living through absolute hell and coming out the other side intact. Not just intact, actually. Joyful.